Resume recording. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So I want to preface this by saying there are many, many ways to do a comparative market analysis. I firmly believe that there is no right way or wrong way. What I'm going to show you this morning is what I call my kind of quick and dirty. This is typically not information. Well, it's information that I'll share, but what I'm going to produce today is for my benefit. Okay. And it's there to make me feel really smart and informed. Okay. All right. So I went ahead and I picked a property today. And I picked 1628 Conan Doyle Road. It's in Naperville. And the MLS number is 109-55617. All right. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Remind in the MLS, which is the icon that looks like the globe. Do you guys need me to make my screen larger?
Looks good for me, but I don't I don't want to speak for everybody.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over here to Remind. The first thing I want to do is glean as much information about the property as I can. Now, this is particularly more important if I am not familiar with the neighborhood. So up here in the search bar, I'm going to go ahead and search for that address. It's 1628 Conan Doyle Road. And then here we've got it. Okay. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to click on the little house, which is my property details. So let's find out what we can about this house. Okay, so the best of our, oh, pretty. So the best of our knowledge, they've lived there for 2 years and 2 months. Okay. Well, what I really want to find out is how long have they really lived there? So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to go to mortgage history. Oh, new construction. Okay, it looks like in 96, they got a construction residential. So that must have been the purchase of the land. Hmm. All right, it looks like the property was originally built and or sold in January 1996. So it looks like they have lived in it for a little over 2 years. Okay, so that lets me know one of the questions I need to ask then is what's their motivation and why are they moving? Which is a question I should always be asking. But now I'm really curious. This is a beautiful house. They've lived in it for 2 years, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click print. I'm going to do agent full. and I'm going to print. But what I'm really going to do is I'm really going to save this as a PDF so that I can reference back to it anytime I want to. Okay. All right. So now that I have that information and I can open it whenever I want to, I'm going to go back to the MLS. I'm going to search for that property and I'm going to click on it here. And the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to print this. And actually, again, I'm going to save it as a PDF so that I can have it as a reference point anytime I'd like. Interesting. They're not holding earnest money. A lot more people are doing that. Okay, so now I've got a little bit about the property. I'm going to go over here to reports. I'm going to go to add new CMA report. Now remember, this is just information that's for me, so it doesn't have to be slick or pretty. So I'm just going to go do the report in the MLS. In the description, I'm just going to put the address, 1628 Conan Doyle. Choose my property type, detached single. I'm going to make myself the client, and I'm going to click here if the client's address is a subject property, and I'm going to continue. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to area statistics, and I'm going to run an area market survey. I'm going to go back 6 months. I am not going to do any criteria except to go over here and add remove fields. Up here in available fields, I'm going to type in map search, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to the other side. You have to remember to always save your work. Okay. So now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select my boundaries. I'm going to center on. I'm going to type in that address, 1628 Conan Doyle, Naperville. Okay. So now this is just the area market survey. So if I were going to purchase a home in this area, I would want to know what was available to me within a mile. And the reason I go back 6 months is because typically an appraiser will go out 1 mile from the property and back 6 months. So I'm just going to go circle 1 mile. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go ahead and generate that report and see what that report tells me. So right now, within a mile of that property, there are 14 units under contract. And the average list price is $494,950. And that's right in the sweet spot, which is $450 to $499,999. Okay. Average days on market, 123. So things are not moving terribly quickly in that area. And I'm going to guess because we've got some overpriced houses over here. You see these days on market, 204, 236. Okay. In the last 6 months, 92 units have sold. And again, sweet spot's the same, 450 to 499. Average sold price, 496, 769. Average list price, 494. So things are really clipping along in this neighborhood. Okay, now let's take a look at what my competition is. So I have 9 units within a mile of my house that I'm going to have to compete against. And the average list price is $573. So what's the first thing that this tells you? Right? And look at the days on market: 138, 55, 123. So it's telling me that sellers in this neighborhood are pushing their average list price, and they've been on the market too long. Okay, so that's really just important information for me to have in my brain. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to the CMA. Okay, now I'm going to go over and I'm going to grab comparables, and I'm going to find comparables, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 6 months. I'm going to select those boundaries. I'm going to center on. Oh, I forgot what's the address? Oh yeah, 1628. Oh, Cognac. Does anybody know where my brain is? Okay, only this time I want to be really specific. So I'm not terribly familiar with this neighborhood, or do I know the surrounding areas? Conan Doyle looks like it's Divider Street. Now I know for sure I'm not going to go on the other side of Book, and I'm not going to go on the other side of Plainfield Naperville Road. So what I'm likely to do is I'm going to start out, I'm always going to pick the one that lets me do custom. And we're going to go over here like this. Okay. Now, you might ask me, why did I do this here and didn't go all the way over to the corner? I do not like to cross major thoroughfares. I really want to keep it within the blocks of where the subject property is. Now, this one, Conan Doyle Road, is one of those major thoroughfares. So I'm going to take my chances and see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK. Now it's really important for me to go back to that MLS sheet that I downloaded. And I'm going to look for my beds and baths. So we have 4 beds. How many baths? We have 2.5. So I'm going to go 2 to 3. Then I'm going to get a count. 27. That's a lot. So now we're going to go master bedroom bath. Full. Let's do count again. 26. Wow, it eliminated 1 property. We're going to go basement, and we're going to go full because that's what the MLS sheet says. And we're going to check count again. 17. All right, I'll take that. So I'm going to view these results. So we're everywhere from 380 to 519. Okay, let's move this over just a little bit so I can see it.
Cheryl,
Yeah.
does it concern you at all there's only 1 active in there?
No. Because I got a bunch of AIs too. I have 2 AIs. Well, I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 actives because we don't know what these have closed at yet. So from the standpoint of what I'm attempting to do, those are okay.
Okay, thank you.
You are very welcome. Okay. All right, this one's listed at 465. It's right smack here in the middle. And we know that the sweet spot is 450 to 499. So I'm only going to take the properties that are between 450 and 499. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add those. All right. I'm going to grab this MLS number right here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to subject property, and we're going to drop in that MLS number and autofill. Now, you may not always be able to do that. You may have to go back and search archives, which is up here. And if you go to archives, it will take you back. That's why it's really important that I print out the MLS sheet so that I can go in and fill this in if I'm not able to autofill. Now, when I customize my report, since again, this is just for me, all I need is the subject property, the comparables, the side-by-sides, the map, my statistics report, and the suggested price and proceeds. Because that's all I want, because this is just for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to generate this report. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll all the way down and see what they say. 475. Okay. So based on that, we know it went under contract at 465. I'm going to guess that this might be a little high. Now, this number right here is purely the average of all the closed properties. It is nothing more than that. Right? So we can manipulate this number to be anything we want to by the close that we select. So now I have to go up here and go to the map and really take a look at what properties can I keep. Okay. So I'm going to look down here in Rose Hill Farms, and these might be just far enough away to cause a problem. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to look at the subdivision. So our subject properties in Ashbury, Rose Hill Farms, Rose Hill Farms, Rose Hill Farms, Rose Hill Farms. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to take out all the ones that are not in Ashbury. You guys follow me on that? Does that make sense? Because again, I'm going off the point that I may not know anything about this property. Okay. So I'm going to write down, I'm going to get rid of 3755 Parador. $1104 Cordula. 1151 Cordula. 3811 Celeste. 3756 Parador. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my worksheet and I'm going to go to comparables and we're going to go ahead and eliminate those ones that are outside of Ashbury. Okay, so I've eliminated those properties that I think might fall outside of the boundaries of what we really want to check. So now again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to generate that report. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and look at the price. Didn't drop much, did it? So now we're going to go back up to the map. Let me go back up to my side by sides.
The one property in Bards, I don't know if it was Bard Street or Bards Road, that one had 3 full baths compared to everyone else has 2 or 2.5. And that one was listed at 480.
Ah, good catch. So I would compensate for that. So I would make an adjustment to the comparable. So we would drop it down a half a bath. So that can be anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000.
Okay.
It also has a much higher square footage.
Hmm.
So these look like they were all built around the same time. So it looks like our house is smaller than everybody else's. You see that right here, approximate square footage, 2,550. So I could take one of the closed and get my best guess at an average price per square foot. So 469. So it looks like Lawrence sold for 152.76 a square foot. Bard sold for 126.38. So again, a huge discrepancy here.
But Bard's has an unfinished basement.
Oh, it does. And the larger the square footage, the less the price per square foot. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a different type of house.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different type of house.
And it's got a 3-car garage.
Yeah.
But also understand that if it's in the neighborhood, right? What does that having that house do for my house?
Lowers your value.
Well, it should raise my value.
Raise your value. Sorry. Yes.
That's all
Early
right.
morning, not enough orange juice.
Yeah, it should raise my value. That's like, I love being one of the smaller houses on my block. Like we're at about 2,400 square feet. You go to the end of our block and over to the left and they're 5,000 square feet. So I'm as happy as I could be. All right. So unfinished basement, extra bathroom. What else have we noticed?
It was in the market for 133 days.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We also noticed that the list price to sales price ratio is 97.95%. Not great.
They overpriced.
Yeah.
They were priced.
Because we didn't go in and see what all these were originally listed for. We just know what they were listed for when they sold. You guys with me on that?
Mm-hmm. So before you run these comps, could you go through Pete's, like get a copy of Pete's report and kind of just see what the trends are in the various cities that you're looking at? Like for instance, Naperville, he's been talking about they've been overpriced lately.
Oh,
Could you
yeah.
not take that and use that as a kind of, marker and then run your comps and then kind of juggle with that?
Absolutely, you could. Is there any other way that we could use those amazing stats that Pete gives us on Thursdays? Ruth said the word.
I said a lot of words.
Yes, you did. But the one I'm most interested in is it shows us the trends.
Yeah.
Right? So part of it could be that as the days on market increase, buyers are just not buying it. Like they're just not going to pay those prices anymore. So where would we feel
Sarah?
comfortable pricing this property? So we can go back to what Patty said. Now we really only do have one active. Well, and the contingent.
Cheryl, the one that's contingent there is the subject property. Is that intended?
Yeah, I'm just saying if we were doing I just use it as an example. So you could eliminate it and say, so we have one active comp, it's 460. It's been on the market 50 days. Right. So if I go back to the worksheet and I look at that one, so let's go ahead and open it up. And I go to additional information. And I go
I
to
just
list.
meant if I wasn't understanding using the subject property as a comp for itself. That's what
Oh, I'm sorry. I just pulled the property out of the MLS.
Okay.
It was purely random. So this one went on in September in the private listing network. It went active in November and it sold 6 days later. So there were no price reductions. So I'm also going to take a look at the pictures and see how does this compare to my property.
Well, the big thing with this one too is it's got that swim club that everybody wants to move to. That's like a high demand area right now. Everybody wants in that neighborhood to go join that swim club.
See, that's information that I don't have. Right? Which makes Ruth more valuable to me as the seller because she understands my neighborhood. So this house is pretty plain.
It's boring.
It is.
It was built in 1990, correct? This is 1990 finishings.
Nice picture. No.
Also was taken off a cell phone camera.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys know how I feel about that.
you love it. We know it.
Ha ha ha.
They're just trying to show you
but
how
they're-
much crap they can fit in that closet.
Yeah,
but they're
that's it.
watermarked too. That's the weird thing. So it's like either it's a really, I don't know.
Oh, there is right there. Yeah, there
Yeah.
sure is.
They don't want you to steal their cell phone photos. So try to be stealing their cell phone photos. You know better.
Ah, there's the pool.
I only really know about this because my dentist, one of my dentists, lives in this subdivision and talks about it constantly about how great the swim club is. And then my neighbor down the street wanted to move into this subdivision because of the swim club, which I'm like, that is like the most bougie thing. I am just not bougie. So I just cannot relate. But that's why I know about this subdivision.
Well, they did a good job of talking about the neighborhood.
I mean, if you look at her remarks, the first thing is like Ashbury Swim Club, like, blah, 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 and that's why it sold so quickly because that's the first thing people saw.
Yep.
I was actually looking at a listing in California that my friend's father-in-law has listed his house. And after every phrase, the realtor put an exclamation point. Every phrase.
Nice.
New kitchen in St. Paulo. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was just like everything had an exclamation point. They got 17 requests for showings within the first hour.
Exclamation points must work.
I guess.
California, I
At least
guess.
in California, right?
Yeah,
You have to exclaim in California, otherwise you're not doing your job right.
right. Like,
Okay, so this one closed at 469. It's brick.
got new
1990.
carpet and a finished basement. Yeah.
Much more upgraded.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy there. Built-ins. No appliances.
That's the laundry room, is it not?
Yep. Little Harry Potter room.
I thought I was the only one that used that phrase.
Haha.
I call them Harry Potter hidey holes.
Okay, so it's much nicer. Was on the market 8 days, but look, $5,000 in concessions. So what's that all about? So it really sold for 564 or 464.
And it went conventional. So what are the concessions for? It's either they had issues with inspection.
Or somebody asked for a closing cost credit. Okay, so we know that 465. So I think that this list price is pretty spot on.
I agree with that list price.
See what it does now. Whoops. Whoop. All right. So let's dissect this. What did I miss? All right. What was in there that you hadn't thought of before?
In the way you pulled it together?
Okay.
No, that was a question.
Oh,
Is that what you're asking for?
yeah. I mean, just was there any value? What did you learn from going through this exercise?
I personally didn't look as deeply into the area market report previously when I was choosing the comparables.
I like that report. It makes me feel smart.
I could use feeling smart, so it was helpful.
The clarification, Cheryl, of not crossing major thoroughfares, trying to keep it a tighter neighborhood.
Okay. Love that. Anybody else?
Hi, Carol. This is Viviana Vargas from Aurora.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi. I never used this. I use, what's the other report? The CMA. The cloud. And what I like about this one is that it compares, it puts both one after the other.
Mhm.
So it gives you a better idea of what you're comparing, because I miss the ones that mine doesn't have a basement and others do. And it's like, I miss that one.
Yeah. Well, then what I'm going to do, Vivian, is I'm going to once I decide that these are the properties that I want to use, I'm going to then transfer those MLS numbers when I go in and do the cloud for my client. So I have handpicked.
Okay, so this is just for you.
This is just for me when I want to do something slick and pretty, but I just want to make sure that I really understand what I'm comparing the properties against.
Yes, it makes sense to do that study.
Yeah. Like I said, it really makes me feel smart. It makes me feel informed, particularly if it's an area I don't know.
Totally.
Since I missed the very start of the class, do you compare or do any looking into the taxes on the comparables versus the subject property?
I do not compare taxes. For me, it's too much of a variable if people don't have homeowner exemptions or if you have somebody that has a senior exemption. I'm just one of those realtor that I don't think about taxes a lot.
Okay, and in the past, I've spent a lot of time in the tax arena, so that's another learning then for me to maybe spend a little less time there and a little more time on something else.
Well, my taxes are my taxes, right? And I can always appeal my taxes. I may be way off base that I just don't spend a lot of time on taxes.
I don't either. And one of the reasons is that I've learned that like I had a client who was trying to compare taxes through houses. And what we would find is that there were some people that had discounted taxes because of they weren't able to work. Like one had a brain injury. You know, there was a neighbor that there was another neighbor that was you know, like retired. And so you got like this varying amount of tax information. And what I just ended up saying to my client was, what is your payment that you need, that you're okay with per month? Talk to your mortgage person and ask them what you're okay with a month. And let's just kind of figure it out from there. So I always structure it so that I talk to the mortgage broker and say, okay, you know, how much in taxes about do you think that they could handle? And then we do the search that way.
That's good. Well, and we've also got, this one's got an $800 a year assessment.
Yeah, that pays for this. This one does?
Yeah.
In Ashbury?
Yeah, I think. Oh, it's right here.
Bougie,
Oh, yep, $600 annual.
bougie. It's a bougie neighborhood. Yeah, I think they have like some sort of tennis club or something, don't they?
I don't know.
I guess I've looked at the taxes and spent time there to be able to explain the difference, to satisfy myself that I can explain the difference. If we see a difference between, you know, one house and another, that I would be knowledgeable on the why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it, you know, here's the thing, Patty, if it works for you, then you should do it. I'm just not a big tax girl. They're going to be there. And I've never been one to want to make a decision, a home purchase decision based upon the taxes, because I can do something about the taxes. Now, if they're super crazy, that's a different story. But just for this right here, this exercise, this 10 or 15 minutes is purely for me to prep to go into the listing appointment.
Gotcha.
So, all right, you guys want to do another one really quick? And we'll do my house, because I'm sure none of you know Tinley Park. All right, so let's go over and do another one.
Do you have a fancy swim club?
Yeah, right in my backyard.
Bougie.
I am bougie. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is what? Going over to Remind. We're going to search for the property. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download this so that I have the information. So I can refer back to it anytime I want to. Now, here's the interesting thing. It says that it's been owned by Edward McDonald for 6.2 years. We've lived here for 16 years. So one of the questions that you may want to ask your sellers is, how long have you owned the property? Now, our equity here
Cheryl,
Yes.
just real quickly, did it come up as that because you refinanced, or why is it showing the inappropriate ownership of the home?
Oh, I was
It's
going to
done.
get right to that.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
No, don't apologize. So the net equity right here is about correct. However, I don't believe that I could sell my house for this.
I could, let's try.
Okay. All right. So let's go down and look at this again, ownership. Okay. So let's look at the, we can either look at the mortgage history. So right here, is our original mortgage. Okay. We refinanced. We refied. And we refied. Okay. Now here's the, well, this was a home equity loan. Sorry. Here's one thing I want you to look for when you get into here, when you'll understand your seller's strong desire to get a value out of the property. So you will notice that we originally borrowed 232 on our home. I never refinanced for more than what I owed. I did not refinance up to the value that was in the property. Right? That's how people get underwater, is because they borrow money against their house. The one, I have not always been terribly smart with money. The one thing that I can say is I've never, ever put my house at risk for money. I always want to be able to have a place to live. And I can't do that if I'm using my house as an ATM. Does everybody get that? So that's why you have people that are underwater or have to short sale or end up foreclosing. Now, of course, there are lots of other reasons. The number one reason that most people foreclose is medical. And we're obviously going to have a lot of that this year. Or next year, I should say. Okay.
I have
So
a
no-
question.
Yes.
So basically, the last time you refinance was in 11.
Yep.
Yeah, February. Okay.
And here, so it says 4.89, but that's not right. I think they sold our loan and it's now 3 point something. We owe so little on our house right now. We owe about 50,000. For us to refinance and pay all those fees would not be worth it for us to refinance. Because I
Even
did,
through
Okay.
Keller Mortgage,
huh?
even through Keller Mortgage.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know that I checked into that.
Yeah, that was my next question, because your rate is 4.89, so refinance is not a good option for you, right?
Well, not to what our financial advisor and our accountant and even our lenders that we went to, because we owe so little.
Oh yeah, okay.
I only owe $50,000 on my house. So technically, if I really had to, I could write a check and pay it off. And there are times that I would really love to do that. So we chose not to refinance again. And other people might be in different situations, right? Where they owe more money or they need they want to lower their payment. But we also refinanced to a 15-year mortgage. And we make one extra payment a year. So we pay where our mortgage payments are set up so that we pay every other week. So we are making one full mortgage payment extra a year. So if one piece of advice I can give to you would be don't ever put your house at risk. Again, that's my personal opinion. Okay. So let's look at the property history, and that will tell you why I've only been in the house 6.2 years. So we purchased it here with a warranty deed. In 2014, we transferred our house into a trust. So our home has been in a trust for the last 6.5 years. Does that make sense? Which is the other smart thing we did. So we don't own anything. My debit card from the bank says Cheryl McDonald trustee on it. So our bank accounts, our cars, our house are all in a living trust. My husband has a trust. I have a trust. When one of us passes away, the other one's trust just pours right into the other person's cup. If both of us were to die at the same time, it makes it super easy for our kids to then disperse of whatever equity we have. So that's why it says we've owned the house for 6.2 years. Okay, makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And thank you for sharing all of this.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, so now that I've got this downloaded, I'm going to go back over to the MLS and we're going to run that report again. We're going to do add a new CMA.
Sure. Can I ask a quick question?
You sure can.
So where I live, it's in an association, but there's a pretty big mix of single family and like townhomes, like duplexes.
Uh-huh.
So when you're doing your area market survey, you're still not putting that into consideration?
No, I would. If I had attached, Jeff, I would definitely run both.
Gotcha. Okay.
Great question.
Okay.
So where Jeff lives, just to recap, is that he lives in an area where there's also a lot of attached. So in those kind of cases, when you run the area market survey, you want to include detached and attached, and it will spit out 2 separate reports.
Oh, it will. Okay. That's great. Okay.
Okay. In fact, for this one, Jeff, I'll do both.
Okay.
All right. So again, I'm gonna put the description is going to be the property. I'm going to choose the property type. I'm going to select myself as as the client, and I'm going to click here for the subject property, and we're going to continue. All right. So I want to go do my area statistics. So we're going to add that area market survey. So see right here where it says property type, I can also add attached single, and I can add 2 to 4 units. Okay. We're going to go back 6 months because an appraiser is going to go back 6 months. I'm going to add remove fields. We're going to go ahead and type in map search. Go ahead and add that and make sure that you save. Now, Tinley Park straddles Will County and Cook County. Will that make a difference on where I buy my home?
Yes.
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 Right. So I can go over here and I can add a county so that I'm just picking homes in Cook and not Will. So if you have a community that straddles 2 counties, you may want to do that. Okay. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to click to select the boundaries. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center on. We're going to type in that address. Now, one of the things I like to do that I didn't mention before is I like to select the aerial only so that I can see what's around what's around that house, particularly if it's an area I'm not familiar with. Now you can all see where I walk my puppies. Again, I'm going to pick the circle. I'm going to go out 1 mile. That's a lot of area. Did you ever really think about how much a mile really was? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK. Now the question becomes, I'm crossing an expressway, but it doesn't look like there's any homes in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave that and we're going to click OK. And I'm going to generate that report. Okay, so under contract in the last 6 months, there's been 32 units go under contract. They've been on the market for 141 days. Sweet spot looks to be 150 to 200, but look at that days on market, 277. That's crazy. I guess it does not, Jeff, break them out. What would break them out for you, Jeff, is if you go up here and you do a market statistics report, that should break them out by type.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You'd still include it though in your area market survey though when you're doing the CMA, or would you you'd probably just dial it back then, right? And just do
I would
one.
dial it back. So if I went
Gotcha.
back here, because I really only want to know what I can purchase or what I'm interested in.
Right.
So look, it really changes that average list price then. But look, the market time is crazy. Look at this, 1,000 days. So there's an outlier in there somewhere,
Yeah, there's only 2 listings.
right?
And
Okay,
maybe
so
that's
we
a
know.
foreclosure. How do you, in that instance where it says average days on market, that's so high, I would have to assume one has to be like a foreclosure,
Or a
right?
short sale, yep. And we'll go find that out when we actually run the run for comps. But again, I do this because I want to know what's going on within a mile of the subject property. Because let's say that I want to live in Tinley Park over here. And believe it or not, the number one thing that buyers will compromise on is location. Isn't that crazy? Okay, sold properties in the last 6 months, there's been 42 of them. 63 days on market. Average sold price, 224,567. Sweet spot, 200 to 250. Again, 612 days on the market. Whew. All right, so what's my competition? Well, I have 8 units that I need to compete against, and their average list price is 203. And they've been on the market 89 days. Okay. So that tells me that prices might be falling just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this to my CMA. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to get my comparables. I'm going to go 6 months. Only this time I'm going to go, we actually have a 4-bedroom, but one of them is really an office. So I'm going to go 3 to 4. We have 2.5 baths. I'm going to select my boundaries. Only this time I'm going to go custom. Okay, so this is what's really interesting about where I live. I don't back up to anything. I live on a dead-end street. So if you come down here, the street even ends here. It doesn't go all the way through. You go down here, this street does not go all the way through. Right here is a bunch of, or actually right here, this road does not go through. So my neighborhood is just really here and here. Now, again, we're one of the smallest houses on the block. So we're about 2,400 square feet. My neighbor's house all the way over here, and these are all custom builds. Okay. Everybody that lives in this neighborhood built their house except for us. And they're about 5,000 square feet down here. Okay. Over here is unincorporated Cook County. The 2 houses that are on this street would be considered tear downs, as would this one. And this house right here is on well and septic. So we have all kinds of really interesting things going on.
That one of us coming into that neighborhood wouldn't know unless we came and unless we really researched, right?
Right. So it gets to the point. So how important is all of this? Well, some of it's really important because one side of the street is unincorporated. I don't know if my neighbors if they have well and septic or not. It's a brother and two sisters. They've lived there their entire lives and they're well into their 80s.
It's
Right?
probably a reality show there.
Howard's pretty cool, except when we park on his side of the street, then he gets a little funky. But I'm gonna take a risk here and I'm gonna do this whole square. Okay. Because I know I don't want to go past 175th Street because this is Panduit. This is manufacturing. Right. And I know as soon as we get past 179th, the street's too big to cross. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull right here. Okay. So I've got the beds and the baths. I've got my boundaries. And let's get a count. 2.
Can I ask a personal question?
Sure.
Do you enjoy living in Tinley Park?
I love living in Tinley Park. I have moved 23 times in my life. And this is one of the few occasions where I have actually had nightmares that I had to give this house up.
Oh,
So, all right, so let's go ahead and view these results. Both of them are on 175th Street. So I'm going to jump over here and we're going to take a look at them and I'm going to see how they compare to my house. Well, my house was built in 1998. It's 2,400 square feet. That's about the only thing we have in common. Nice little artistic red there. Okay, it looks like it's updated. Virtually staged.
virtually staged, I think.
It's very nice. It's a very nice house. Looks like a gut rehab. Okay, and it's also on a half-acre lot. Okay. It's in Cook County. Was on the market for 3 days. All right, it listed at 235. It sold for 239. Look at the concessions again. $6,500 in concessions. That's crazy.
That looks like a closing cost credit. It's almost 3%.
Yeah.
And it's really weird at 65.61.
Yeah. Right. It's in Bremen Township, which is where I live. Okay. So not bad. It's a beautiful house. It's also on a busy street. Okay, here's the other one. 167 days. Original list price 289. It was listed at 279.5 when it sold, and it sold for 265. So let's take a look at it. 1,800 square feet. It was built in 54. It does have 3 beds, 2.5 baths. Again, super huge lot. We got big lots down here. Doesn't look terribly updated. Ugh.
I have a question. On the previous house, if it's sold that quick, why do you think they would give concessions like that?
I don't know. That's a great question. Anybody got an answer for Karen?
The
Most of the
seller
time
was
when I see
moving,
yeah.
the seller was moving and wanted to get this thing done.
Yeah. It could be like
Okay.
FHA and they, you know,
Or-
they
or
just wanted it
transfer.
done.
I mean, or the net dollar amount to the seller was actually what they wanted, you know, and they just manipulated the numbers. Cause I know I've had to do that before for one of my clients, and net what the seller got was pretty much what they were asking for, but the way that with the mortgage it worked out.
Yep. The exact same thing here. The goal is the net. It doesn't matter what your concession is, really. The goal is your net, what you walk away with. Whatever you
Right.
got to do to get there.
So I might go to Remind and take a look at that one. Go ahead, Patty.
The last one you showed, it said that the original or a buyer had fallen through. So that may be with the extra days on market.
Okay.
If you look in the remarks.
Okay. Smart catch.
Where is this one located? Is it well and septic, like across the street, or is it public?
Well, let's go back and look. Good call.
I noticed in the backyard, there was like the grass had an area that was,
It
the
looked
grass
like a
wasn't as
sinkhole.
nice. Yeah, there was something there. Public,
Yep.
they probably had a pool in that spot.
Could be.
For a garden.
Is this the one, Patty, that you said had the buyer fell through?
Yeah, it says in the remark, in the remarks, buyer financing fell through and now available to you.
Oh, okay. Good catch.
It does have the, oh, never mind.
What?
No, I don't know what I'm talking about, so it's better that I not say it.
Patty made a good catch because it says buyer financing fell through and now available to you, exclamation point.
Woo! That was it.
Good job,
That's what I was
Patty.
looking for, Ruthie. I was searching out the exclamation
There-
point.
You did great.
So it went contingent in about a month. So it originally went on the market in January. It went contingent in February. They reactivated it a month later. It went contingent in April. So it looks like a couple buyers fell through. Then it was reactivated again in June with the price reduction. And
I
then
wonder if the appraisal didn't come back,
could be.
because there's the same price twice, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to the CMA. I do not have any competition right now in that area. So should I expand out? Do I
Did they
change the
have
price?
I'm sorry, did they have the same size garages? I don't remember if that.
That
somebody
one
asked
had
me
a
that.
6-car garage.
Oh,
We have a 3-car garage.
in basements?
Good call. Let's go back and see. None. No basement in this house.
And does yours have a basement?
Sort of. Nope. So those two do not have basements. That's a great catch. So let me, we have a basement. It's not a full basement. It's probably about a quarter of the footprint of the house. And then we have an area that you can go down and I can stand in, my husband can't. And then we have a half wall. So it's not a basement that we would finish. Somebody might. um, but we didn't. It's just full of tools and paper towels. Toilet paper is precious. I keep that in the master bathroom or the master bedroom closet.
In a vault, right?
Actually, yes. Every time I went to the grocery and it was available, I would buy a package, right? And my husband looked at me one day and he says, I think that we have enough.
See, but we should date them 2020. They
Yeah.
may be a collector's item
They
someday.
could be, right? Okay, so I've got my area statistics, right? I've got my comparables. Now, what do I do with the subject property since I've lived here for so long? So what I might do is go over here, open up a new workspace.
Before you start that, can I ask a question?
You sure can.
Would you, since there are only 2 comps, would you go back more than 6 months or would you go out further than a mile?
I'd probably go back 9 months. The circumstances change too much if I go out farther. So here's a really good example. My daughter and my son live within a mile of each other on the other side of Harlem in Tinley Park. Our daughter's house is almost an exact duplicate of ours. It's a little smaller. Our son's house is not like ours at all and doesn't have a basement. They have a lower level that's finished, but it's not really a basement. My daughter paid more for her house than I could probably sell mine for because of where it's located, despite the fact that our house is larger and it's on more land. My son's house, I don't think is quite as nice as my daughter's house, and he paid even more than our daughter paid. And they bought within a couple months of each other this year. So it's just, I don't like to go out too far because the conditions of the property changes too much. I would much rather go back in time. Okay. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to search for my house and it's not going to come up. Right? Because it's too old. It's been off the market for too long. Okay.
Can you
I'm
archive it?
Yep. So I'm going to go over here to search and we're going to go to archives.
The archives go back to 1980, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So if I don't know when, you can put 1980. And I just want to search closed. And I can put down the street number. Now, with a street like mine, it's really interesting. Do I put the TH? Do I not put the TH? Right? So let's see what we've got. So there we are. Okay. So there are no pictures on archives. So let's say I'm going to grab the MLS number right here. We're going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to the report and I'm going to go subject property and we're going to drop that MLS number in there. It will not autofill because it's been too long. So I would then have to go over and type in all this information if I was not familiar with the property. Okay. So if we go back over here to remind, what did they say its value is? So they're saying 335. First American says 311. Black Knight says 360. If I go over to the infamous Zillow, just to see what consumers are seeing. Whoops. See, I don't like Zillow so much, I misspelled it. So they're estimating 304. Okay. Now, the number one search portal is realtor.com. This is where more people search for homes than any place else. So if I really want to see what consumers are seeing, I'm going to go over to realtor.com. So they're saying 317, and they list us as a 4-bed, 2.5 bath. Okay. And that is exactly what my house looks like. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and generate the report and see what happens. So they're saying 252. Wow, that's really low, right? Compared to what all the other valuations are and what we understand. Now, again, this number is purely an average of the closed properties. And I live right here. So are those properties close enough?
They do have the industry across the street though, right?
Yep.
Both of those where you
And-
don't.
Right. The high school is right here.
Yeah.
175th is a busy street. It's 2-lane. Okay. Again, if I go, now I could conceivably go all the way to Oak Park Avenue. And we could see what that does.
It's interesting. I'm actually wanting to take another very basic MLS class because I'm seeing things that you're doing that I didn't know, didn't notice.
Mhm.
Just to make things easier. Like there's just so much to learn in there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm comfortable doing that, knowing my neighborhood. I am not comfortable going on the other side of Oak Park Avenue or past 175th or past 179th. We're getting into totally different kinds of homes over here. Okay, we're going to click OK. We're going to view those results. Now I have 8. Again, no actives. These are all 3-2, so.
Do you think the no actives is time of year or
There's just not a lot for sale
something
by
else?
where I live.
Like now with somebody coming in new and you don't know and you pick that area to farm, now that could be a bad area for you,
It could
correct?
which is why you always want to go do a market trends report
Mm-hmm.
and go back and do a 5-year trend. There is no one farming our neighborhood. We've lived here 16 years, and in 16 years, I've had 2 new neighbors.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go. Well, sure don't want. Well,
Who would want to move away from you, Cheryl?
oh, I'm sure a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people. I walk my dogs without a leash. All right. Oh, you know what I didn't do, Patty? You didn't catch me.
What?
We didn't go back 9 months.
I thought you changed your mind. Since you're technically on vacation, I figured it was your prerogative.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Okay. Again, no actives, even back 9 months.
Is all of Tinley Park like that, or just a?
Just where I live.
Oh.
If we went over to my daughter's neighborhood, easy peasy, or even my son's neighborhood. So what do I tell the seller?
Stay put.
All right, let's add all the comps, see what happens. Okay, let's generate the report. Let's go over and look at the map.
Cheryl, doesn't this indicate that the area that you're living in is much more desirable because nobody's moving out?
Yes.
So
Okay.
it feels like you're way underpriced.
Yeah.
Or the comps are coming in way under.
They are. And what's interesting is that where I live, they were all custom builds.
Okay.
A lot of the other homes in my neighborhood are like the other ones we saw with no basements. So here we've got a ranch that's on a crawl, 265.
That's the one we were looking at before.
Right. Split level, that's more in line with where what my husband and I live in. They call our house a Forester because it has a basement under the lower level. See, in these houses, nobody has basements. Tri-level. That's probably the closest to what we have. And we are on 1/4 acre.
I think of your house as being very, very desirable for those people that can't afford the big custom homes but can live in that neighborhood.
Right.
Dead end, bigger yard if that's what they want. Basement, like you said, with none of the others don't have it, but yet they can live in that. Would not it cost as much, but yet be able to live right there.
Okay, so here's these houses again. So I live right here. So we know that there's nothing, again, really for sale right by where I live. So the question becomes, if I want to live in this area, am I willing to live someplace else? Even on this street right here, I think we've gotten 1 new neighbor in 16 years. I've had 2 down here and a couple down here.
Cheryl, would you ever go to the other side of the forest preserve? I realize it's far from your home, but is that at all a similar neighborhood? Because if someone's looking for that kind of, you know, quiet location, does the other side of the forest preserve offer anything?
You know, that's a really interesting thought. I had not thought about that before. Wow. Let's go back and look.
Did you say it's Cook County?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sarah's gonna try to sell your house out from under you, Cheryl.
I'm afraid she is.
You know what? It's exactly like my neighborhood. We're in a dead end area, bigger yards. And so like, that's exactly what our neighborhood is kind of like that. But we don't have the big, well, they're just all different houses there, but we don't have the 500,000 square feet like that though.
And can I ask just a language question?
Yes.
Total newbie here, my friends, if you can't tell from my questions. Do we use the phrase dead end or do we use cul-de-sac?
I've always used dead end. Nobody's told me I can't.
Okay.
Anybody else out there have a strong feeling about that one way or the other?
I think there's a difference between a dead end and a cul-de-sac, because doesn't a cul-de-sac usually indicate some sort of horse shape, horseshoe
Right.
shape, or U-turn type thing?
It absolutely does, Ruth. I just wondered if there was any reaction to that language.
I haven't seen any, but you know what? There's always a first.
Okay, thank you.
Still didn't give me anything new.
Okay, just wondered from your institutional knowledge of that area, if there was anything, if it was a similar neighborhood, similar features on the other side of the forest preserve.
Well, I know that we run the risk of getting into the next town, which would be Oak Forest. So I would have to really know my city boundaries.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, but that was a great question. So here's my dilemma. I have no actives. What do I do?
How long ago? Oh, and all the closed were within the last 9 months.
That's correct.
To go looking at the closest closed properties to start with. I mean, like the time wise, maybe.
Yeah. So let's get rid of these ones that aren't 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
Would you ever, in a situation like this, would you ever suggest to test the home at a higher price than what the comparables were, just to see if anyone would bite, since it's an area that doesn't have houses come available too often?
Absolutely. I might put it in the PLN. I might start it at 300,000, just so I'm getting those people that are starting their search at 300 and those people that are ending their search at 300.
Yep.
I always would much rather be in a position where I slightly underprice and drive multiple offers than I would be to be overpriced and not get any offers. Okay. So let's do this. So let's go back and find our comparables again. And let's take this off and just go all months. Well, let's go back 24 because I know at least we'll get a couple. And I'm going to take the beds and the baths out.
So anything that sold at all within the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that got me 58, and that's too many. Now you see these with the little S's on them, that means it's a short sale, and the F means foreclosure. We don't ever want to include those in our comparative market analysis. Okay. So I'm going to set a minimum
Is that
search.
because that there'll be outliers in terms of price and time?
Yes, and appraisers won't use them.
Okay.
So I'm going to set my search price at 275. And I'm not going to go up. Well, I want to, okay, view results.
So as a realtor, so when would you really suggest for such property to be, for a property to be appraised?
Well,
Like,
every
would
buyer is
that-
going to have every buyer that is borrowing money, the lender will have the property appraised.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So these two houses right here, 62nd Avenue, are the houses at the other end of my street. So this house recently sold. This is actually my neighbor's house. They just did it for sale by owner. And it's a great looking house. They've taken immaculate care of it. They also have a separate living area upstairs. Right here, this is their upstairs that they rented out.
Doesn't, um,
Go ahead.
when you rent something out, I was going to say, doesn't it have to have a separate entrance?
It does. So when you go into the garage and you go in the service door, you go up the stairs to the second story living area. There is a door right there.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So this one just sold. They sold it in 6 days. They sold it for $435. My house is not worth $435. Even if it was right next door, my house is not worth $435.
You said it was for sale by owner?
They listed with one of the discount brokers
Oh, okay.
because I worked with them on pricing this property. But he knew a guy and they've sold all their properties themselves. So I've done a CMA. So then there's this house, which is kind of right down the block from the one that we just saw.
That's pretty.
It's a gorgeous house. Sold for $385. My house is not worth $385. These are just gorgeous houses. And not to say that my house isn't gorgeous, but it's not like this.
Who was in the, was that
Yeah, it was a cutout. I think it was Han Solo.
oh, okay. Just one.
Okay. So those are gorgeous houses and they're within a pretty close shot of my house. Now, what I was really hoping to find was so let's look at this one on Ridgeland. Again, for me, this is not a good comp. It was built in 43. It's got 5 beds, 3 baths. but looks like it's pretty redone. The finishes are updated.
I'd be curious on the history of that one, if that one had, if it was on the market before. Then would this, in fact, does it always say, like, if it, like if it was, if it was put as new more than once, because it says 54 days / 54.
Yep.
Does that second number always tell you?
Yes. So
any,
that will
or
be,
does it
so
certain
that would be,
instances it doesn't?
that will be the first number on the left is the current listing market time. The number on the right is the total market time.
So it
this
always
one-
tells you, the second
Right.
number will always tell you, like, oh, there's more history.
Yep. So this
Okay.
one went on the market on November 6th, and they have not done a price reduction. That, for me, that's not cool. If in 10 days I don't get an offer, I'm taking a serious look at the price.
Does the cumulative number, I think there's a situation where if you're off the market long enough, the cumulative number resets, but I don't know the
Yeah, I don't either.
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
That would be a great Jack question. Right? So I know that my house can't be listed for more than 320. Or I might test it at 320.
So okay, so that's your house. So as for us, as you know, those of us that's new, so what would you suggest if we have a house, something like that come up to? So what would you suggest we do in
I
a
would
situation like
suggest
this?
that within the next 24 hours, you go and do this activity on your home because you're really familiar with it, and come up with a price that you're really comfortable with. And then pick other homes in your neighborhood. Because what we need to do is build your foundational strength first. But Sarah was correct, and she said you would take the closest to the subject property. So if we did that, so let me just do this. We'll add these selected comps to the CMA. Okay. Well, 435 is out of the question. 399 is out of the question because we know from our market analysis report, right? So if we go over here to our area statistics and we view the report, I know that within a mile of my house, under contract, the average list price is 222. I also know that my house is worth more than that. Sold property is 224. Active listings 203. So I'm going to guess that there's been one house on the market. Well, actually, there was nothing sold between 300,000 and 350,000, which is probably right where my house falls.
There was one house in one of the lists that, you know how it's got the S or the F for foreclosure or short sale?
Yeah.
That had a C. What does that C mean? You know, like within the parentheses, it said a C in one of the lists.
Oh, right here.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna
What does
ask
that
that
mean?
same thing, Sarah, because I've been going through in my mind, what could the C mean?
Yeah.
COVID.
Court ordered sale.
Oh.
Yep, right here.
So let's see. So let's see. So could that affect their price? Like, no, they might just warning people. They just might have to wait to go
Well,
for the whole
it
process to go
closed.
through.
Well, that's under the sold price.
Oh, yeah. Wait. So what? So. Okay. All right. So there's something going on with like probate
So it
or
didn't say,
something.
it
Or,
wouldn't have said that in the active listing.
Wouldn't it have, because in the description, it's saying that the price has to be approved,
Yeah.
is subject to the court.
So
So how is
Well,
that?
and here's the
different than
thing, you don't see the short sale or the foreclosure typically, unless it's closed.
And do you know if there's any way of, because I've tried doing that with the short sales and stuff, it like, you go in there and you'll click it like to don't show any of those, any auction or whatever. Is there a way to like click on something that, so that none of those kind of things show up? I've never seen that.
Is there a search parameter that you can choose when you're adding fields? It might be like a short sale or a, I forget what it's called.
The foreclosure there, or those
Right.
Cs?
list
Right.
pendants?
So if we go over here and we do a search, let's do a general search, we'll do detached.
Because you never want to include those in your comps. So it's like, it'd be nice to know if there's a
So
way to get rid of
There's
them.
a search field called short sale, foreclosed, court approved, and then closed only in parentheses, and you can choose not applicable. So then I think anything that would hit that that criteria would have to be that way. I was just looking in the just in the regular like MLS search.
Oh, that's, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, right
I've-
here, short
right
sale,
here.
foreclosed court.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then when you add it, you could just one of the it's either the options are short sale, foreclosed, court approved, or not applicable. So I would imagine not applicable will automatically remove all those.
That's good to know.
So short sale, foreclosed, not applicable. Just like that.
Okay, that's good to know.
Pretty cool. Nicely done, Jeff.
Yeah. That's
Even
why
a
they
blind
care
squirrel
so
finds a nut
much.
sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Okay. So what do I got down here? 286. Closer. I think my house would sell for about 290, which is exactly what my husband and I bought it for 16 years ago.
I think like you were saying about putting things in the private network versus trying them. I think you're right on there with, I know, like just more recently, I had a house that the seller wanted to go higher than I knew she'd get. And she kind of knew it too, but like, she just wanted to try by putting it in the private network. And it was a very desirable area. But by putting it in the private network, we weren't even getting calls at all, but yet it was in the private network. But in the private network, you'll get the agents calling right away, immediately, if it's priced right,
Mm-hmm.
or even closer to right, you'll still get the agents calling. So you'll still know if there's interest, if it's in a, desire, especially if it's in a desirable area, they'll be calling without counting the days.
Yeah, I don't even think that when you put it in the PLN, you have to put in a price.
You don't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah,
No, you don't
yeah.
have to.
But if you're trying to see if you're overpriced, or if you're trying to tell a client that, hey, that's way too much, and they're not getting it,
Mm-hmm.
it's especially if it's not on the market yet. Like in my case, she didn't want it on, active yet. So
Right.
trying it like that was really helpful to get towards where it should be
Good.
before putting it active.
Good. I love that. All right.
So you purchased your property 290 16 years ago, you said,
Yep.
and you would sell it for that now? Like if you would have sell it, that's not worth it, is it?
I would list at, based upon this report, I would list at 320.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I would do a price reduction or a price improvement every 10 days. I did not get an offer.
Okay. I have a question, but it's outside of that. It's about farming.
Okay.
So an area that I choose to farm, but however, there's about 250 properties that have 5 all the way to 8% of the mortgage rate. So what do you suggest like I do? You can, it seems like I can do like a mailer, but what does that do for me? Suggest to them that, hey, you can lower your interest rate to 3% or whatever. So what does that do for me?
Well, it creates goodwill, right? And it shows that you are a person that brings value. And Gary continues to remind us that right now it's service before sales.
Okay.
And you can also let people know that inventory is really low had they ever considered selling.
Okay.
Would it be good for her to partner with a lender that can help them do that refinance?
I think she was going to do Keller Mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with that info. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm hoping somebody has, I know there's somebody that can help. I'm curious what the thoughts are and if somebody would, if somebody has a shed that is like extra fancy. I mean, it has an air conditioner and it has a ceiling fan. I call it a tiny house in their backyard, is there any kind of value to something like that? It's got the little stairs that go up to stairs. That it's just the cutest little shed. They actually put a little bed in there. Sometimes the grandkids will sleep in there, but something like that. It's got the little front porch on it with the little light next to the door. Just super cute. Is there any kind of value to something like that?
Well, something like that for me is kind of like a swimming pool. I don't know that it necessarily adds value or detracts value depending upon who the buyer is. Now, like when my husband and I bought this house, it has a swimming pool. We weren't looking for a pool.
Mhm.
I don't know that we really considered to calculate that in the price.
And it's not oversized or anything. It looks perfect in the setting. You
That's
don't
awesome.
realize what's inside until you go in there, though the outside's real cute, but you don't realize what it is till like you walk in the door and it's like, oh my gosh.
What do you
Could
guys
This is
think?
so cute.
Could it be marketed as like an in-law arrangement?
Well, there's not a bathroom or anything, a kitchen in there, but it's like, so it's really,
It's just a clubhouse.
it is,
shed.
and it's small.
She
like,
shed, right?
Yeah, she shed.
It is, oh yeah, and it's just, and it's got it's got a window air conditioner unit in there, it just is, they did it so cute. The door, it's got even a little stained glass window in the upstairs area, like, just
Sarah,
super
is it-
cute.
With the air conditioning, is it also heated?
No, but they've put a space heater in there,
Okay.
but it doesn't have, but just for, with the space heater it is.
Well,
but-
I was just thinking about right now during COVID as an ideal work from home space.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Good call, Tina.
Yeah, see, that is, and like, what, do you put any value to something like that?
Well, I don't know that it's going to drastically change the value of the property.
Mhm.
But you can have detached office.
Yeah.
That was a great idea, Tina.
Yeah, I would move in there. It was just so, I just kept saying, I'd laugh every time I'd say the word, the shed, like, because it just was so cute. It made me laugh for some reason. Or smile. It was a happy thing, a super happy thing.
Well, at least you could make something up in the remarks.
And
Super happy
that would help you
place in the
stand out.
backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would help you stand
Sorry,
out,
what'd you say,
against the
John?
comparable. It was
Yeah.
you would stand out against the comparables, definitely. So there might be inherent value there just for people wanting that property. It might turn into something where they're going to be willing to offer more because of that. So maybe
Yeah.
not on your end, but just the perceived value would be higher with if you have 5 buyers that are looking at that and saying, oh, we really want that. We want that space. None of these other houses have this. We're willing to pay more
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think it would be good because of the office area? To me seems better than like he built a bed in there and to fit right in there
Well, I
but
need to
it
take a
not-
nap when I'm working.
well, okay, because I was thinking that it might be even for kind of staging to kind of have that little office area in there also,
Mhm.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking as we're talking here.
See ya, Melody.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody, for that.
Anybody, any questions, comments?
I have
And
an
really like,
unrelated question to actually CMAs. But I keep forgetting to ask you if that's okay.
What is it?